I did not realize that I started being attracted to women till I was 47. I had been married twice and had 2 children. And I started getting attracted to my son's therapist, who I suspected was gay, but I just started feeling really differently towards her.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Queerly Blax Show. I'm your host, Ashley, and I'm so happy you came by. The Queerly Blax Show aims to normalize the everyday existence of Black, LGBTQIA+ individuals through an interview-style series with regular folks like you and me. So every week, a new guest shares their story and unique perspective on their existence as an LGBTQIA+ individual. Thank you for tuning in, and make sure you subscribe, download, set your reminders to the podcast so you never miss an episode. Enjoy the show. Welcome back to another episode of the Queerly Blax Show. My name is Ashley. I'm joined today by Jill and Lori Young. We have a couple here today, y'all. So y'all know we're going to get that how we met story. And it's 2 versions of the how we met story. Hopefully we'll see how close they are. But yeah. Lori, Jill, go ahead and introduce yourselves to the people.
Started. So I'm Jill Young.
Yep. And I'm Lori. And we're I guess almost a senior gay married couple, right? Yeah. So it's
senior gay married couple.
Senior gay married.
What do you have to be to classify as?
She's not owning it. I know. Don't get it confused.
Yeah,
she's not owning senior.
I'm trying on the name, but it's not sitting real well with me.
Let's call it OGs.
Yeah. Yes, OGs.
You're OGs in the game.
That's what I like that. Yeah. My dad used to say either you're getting old or you're dead, so you got to make that choice.
This is true. But that's a good. But living a long healthy life is a good thing. It's a blessing, man. Especially today with just the way things are and the way people are just kind of disappearing on us like left and right. It's a blessing, you know. So
absolutely.
Every day we're blessed to be here. So you know how we go here. You know, we got to start at the beginning, and I got to ask both of you, when did you know you like the ladies?
Me?
Both.
I came out quick. I've been out since high school. And couldn't, like we're talking about being older, didn't quite put it together, knew I wasn't, I wasn't always owning it, but I wasn't interested in boys either. But, I have, my parents are older, raised during the Depression, the Black church, so it's kind of the last thing you want to be is different, I would say, especially, but I kind of, I always say about myself is, if you met me so many years ago, I'm still exactly the same person. It's just now people knew I was gay, but I really literally never changed throughout. I mean, I almost dressed the same since I was like 4 years old. I was very blessed to have a mom that kind of went with it. It's like, she's not trying to wear this dress, didn't try to make me wear a dress. She just went with it. My mom, for being, an older person, she had a lot of just openness about it. She didn't try to make me be something I wasn't. So
I like that story that you always tell about your mom, how when you were out playing ball with the boys in the neighborhood, and it was skins and
so you play shirts and skins. Anyway, grew up in a neighborhood with a bunch of boys. One time we were going to play shirts and skins, whereas somebody takes their shirts off and that's your team and the other guys have skin. And I was saying I was very lucky to have a very progressive mother, honestly, who said, okay, yeah, go ahead. You guys do it. She didn't freak out about it. She didn't trip out on it. And honestly, I was always very loved by my parents, very lucky. And so once I came out, finally I came out when I was about 19, come out to my parents. And once my parents knew, I was done. I didn't care.
From there, yeah.
I was done. Lori's story now is a whole nother story. So I'm gonna let you go.
All right.
Yeah. So me, I was a total late bloomer. I kind of grew up in a more conservative area in like Missouri. And I honestly don't even remember knowing anything about gay people where I grew up. It was kind of a, just like I said, very conservative area. And I did not realize that I started being attracted to women till I was 47. I had been married twice and had 2 children. And I started getting attracted to my son's therapist, who I suspected was gay, but I just started feeling really differently towards her. And it was just a different kind of feeling that I had never experienced before. And I was fortunate because I was able to go to her, not talk to her about it, but just go to her and say, you know, I'm having these feelings, like I might be gay, you know, like what can I do? And she gave me a lot of books that I could read to kind of like feel that situation out. And I started reading these books, you know, kind of about women who were married to men who suddenly realized they were gay. And I started reading those books and I was like, oh my God, this is so me. Like, I was just like, and at the same time, I was relieved, like, because, oh my God, this explains everything to me. Like, I feel, I know what I'm feeling now, but at the same time, I was terrified.
Yeah.
I had 2 boys. I had a conservative religious mother, and a family and friends that knew me as a heterosexual. So like for me to have to come out at 47 years old to my boys and my mother and my friends and my family, it was terrifying. So I did go through a lot of therapy to kind of come to terms with that. But once I did, like, I think because I was older, I had this attitude of like, okay, I'm 47 years old. I'm gay. I am going to live my life to the fullest, right? I am not going to hold back. This is who I am. You're going to accept me for who I am, or you're not. So I pretty much like came out like right away to everybody and dealt with like the repercussions, you know, everybody's reactions to it. You know, those are long stories, but you know,
I can imagine.
Yeah, and I, you know, at the time I lived in Chicago, and I was also going through a divorce and realizing this, and I was just like, oh my God, I am at such a crossroads. And so I basically told myself, I am going to go to the gay community of the world, and I'm going to explore and figure out who I am. And I literally sold everything I owned, packed up everything that would fit in my little Hyundai Elantra, and drove across the country from Chicago to the Bay Area. And I didn't have a job. I didn't know anybody, but I was really determined to live out the gay life, for me to find my person, and for me to just become my truest self. And
that's awesome.
Obviously it happened.
I thought
that's
it happened.
Yeah, like, what?
I'm not even saying I'm doing something like that. Like,
yeah, that's awesome. But I think it's kind of it's cool. Like, I think it's super dope because, you know, I feel like there's this almost like the older we get, the less people feel like they can make that kind of choice for themselves, you know, unless you've already like been with someone for a really long time and you're like, they're just tired of you hiding them, and you're like, all right, finally I'll like come out. But you know, it's really rare that you find people do it for themselves. Like, people be like, okay, this is who I am, independent, and we're going to just forge a path forward, because people feel like there's so much at stake, right? You talk about having kids and, you know, probably had a house and probably had, you know, you just put all these false things on yourself that are like caging you into this identity. And it's like, well, it's either this or depression or sickness, or like I'm, laying across my therapist's couch for the rest of my life, depressed and like on medication because I'm not myself. So like, just talk about for you the freedom of like, I don't care how old I am. I don't care, not that you don't care. Let me rephrase that word and say, with consideration for all the other things, this is just what I'm going to do because my happiness is dependent on me being myself. Like that, talk about that space of being scared and then transitioning into just being free.
Yeah, I think, for me, I'd had prior to this transition in my life, I'd had a lot of therapy and done a lot of personal growth work on my own. I mean, I'm a certified life coach. I'd been through a lot of just healing, myself. And so I already had like 1, age, 2, wisdom, 3, growth, personal growth within myself to know that there's no other way. Like there was just no other way. I in Chicago, when I lived there, I was emotionally drowning. Like there was just no way that I could continue living there. I couldn't continue living there. I couldn't continue living the life that I lived. And it was literally almost like a spiritual calling for me, where it's like, I know that this is where I'm supposed to go. I know that this is who I am. I know that this is my life. And I just embraced it. Like, I don't know, I had kind of like this, almost like this super belief.
Yeah.
Like inside of me that like, this is it. This is my calling. This is where I'm supposed to be. This is where I'm supposed to go. This is who I am. And let's go for it. Like you have nothing to lose. I lost, my marriage, lost, my kids when I moved, which was a big thing for me.
They were grown already, right? Your kids?
Well, no, actually my youngest son was 10.
Okay.
But at the time I did not have the money. I did not have, to fight for him, to take him to California with me. And honestly, I didn't have the emotional strength in my life at that time I had to heal, and I had to just come to a place of strength within myself.
Yeah. And then, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna ask, and then for Jill, for you, I know it wasn't that you have a different story, but at the same time, just like what your journey was to the place that you are today in terms of just your sexuality and your life essentially before meeting Lori, and then we'll talk about we'll get to that.
So you know what, I was always been with women, never had any serious relationship with any other sex. So
you're a gold star.
Huh?
You're a gold star.
I am a gold star. That's what people say. I never knew what that meant, but yes. So this has been me. Like I said, it was just very natural to me. Always. I didn't quite know how to put words to it. I remember I had a cousin who was gay. He was a man, and and honestly, when I talk about my mom, the person he came out to was my mom. And like he would, and this is in the late 50s, early 60s. So, he came out to my mom. So, like I said, my mom was still very, Black church, all that, raised in the South and everything, but she loved you. That's good. Right. So for me, it was, I remember thinking, am I like Earl, which was my cousin, like that, or, and it was kind of trippy, but it was like, I couldn't be anybody else. So my path was, and I've always kind of be the person to this day is I haven't never changed. So my cousins know me this way. My siblings know me this way. My friends know me this way. So it was like, okay, like nothing has changed literally, but now I'm gay. Right.
Yeah.
I think since you met me, you have been more openly gay.
Yeah. Well, I was going to get to that and say
Yeah.
that because so this was going to be my next thing, which was, I was kind of like, this is who I am. I'm living my life. I kind of lived honestly like a straight person in a lot of ways, because I've always been into monogamy, always been very committed. Once I realized I had 2 very long-term relationships prior to her, I always been that kind, always had kids in my life. So I kind of always been like that same thing. But for me, it was like, so I was in a relationship for almost 20 years. So my kids are 3. When I first met my longest relationship, the kids were 3, 4, and 6. And now they're 36, 34, and 33. So I've had kids, like my kids, I've had my kids their whole lives. They don't even know really hardly what it was to have straight parents. So I raised my kids with her.
And those kids, those she had those kids prior to you guys
prior
being
to me,
together.
she was married. And then I became basically the father figure in their lives, and still am to this day. But she was married before, and I knew her prior to getting married. And then they broke up, and she was like, and we actually had this conversation, and I told her, if you could be straight, it's easier. It ain't easy to be gay, because people got their thoughts and judgments. You gotta bring it if you want to be gay, because if you're gonna be
stand on it.
Stand on it. Well, I said, if you could be straight, you need to do that, because she was getting a lot of pressure from her family. Well, she did. She went and got married, had kids, and then she came back around and we connected again. So it's like, and her
she went and gave you 3 kids, and then she came back.
Exactly. And her cousin came out super young and went through all the shit, who's still and she was probably like, oh no, I'm good. Let her, because it was a big deal when her cousin came out, and they were best friends. So she got married, had kids, and then we ended up together again, right? So I kind of just like, and I was always kind of mind my own business. I didn't put my business out there. They didn't really have social media. So you weren't like on Facebook. There was no Facebook. You weren't. And I was kind of business. I never talk about I had a family, I live kind of like, you don't need to know this. Now, if you ask me, I'm not going to deny it, but I'm not out there, and then I met this one, and she's like into Facebook and she's just blasting it. I'm like, oh, okay. So this is what we're doing. Like, well, everybody. Okay. All right. And I'm already, I'm already much older at this point, but it's just not who I was. I was taught, keep it to yourself, live and let, you don't need to advertise, kind of, it's like, you just be you, people will figure it out. That's how kind of how I was. Right. So when she came, she's the one that started posting pictures of, I was like, oh, I don't know if I really want that on LinkedIn, like I was like, kind of like, but she was like, no, I'm out and I'm proud. I'm like, well, you kind of do that on yourself. Let me get used to it. I didn't do all that yet, And she was like, I'm in love and everybody needs to know. And I was like, ooh, so it took me a minute, to get there. But, I actually can say is even though I was the professional gay, she became like
very quickly,
the more professional gay. She's professionally gay than me.
That's cool though. That's cool, because I'm sure it brought out different dynamics to both of you guys, right? Like it's like, there's definitely a balance to both of them. So I'm sure it brought out a good balance. But you talked about having the children in a long-term relationship. I just want to touch on that briefly, because I had a conversation with a young lady. This was probably 10 or so episodes ago, and she has a kid as well that she actually had the kid with her lesbian spouse. And when they broke up, she's still co-parenting with her, and people just have this assumption that like, when lesbians break up, that like they go and get a new person. And it's like, well, if they were in a straight relationship, they wouldn't do that. Like she had this child with her, and this child has been in her life for a long time. And so naturally, why would you rip that from, the kid? But talk about for you being in a long-term relationship, and then there's the added dynamic of these children existing prior to your. What up? It's your host, Ashley, and I'm interrupting this podcast to ask, are you following us? Have you downloaded the podcast? Are you subscribed to us on YouTube? If you're not already, go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow us on all platforms, Queerly Black. I'm going to let y'all get back to the show. Peace. Marriage, how you guys were able to navigate that situation once you decided to separate.
Yeah, so with my kids, so part of I was that person that once I made that commitment, that's it. These are my kids. It's not like, okay, you're my kid until I'm not with your mom anymore. It was like, those are my kids. They're really literally raised by me. They were so small. So most of what they know how to do, where they live, all that is around me because I was their other parent. And she was very into needing a parent. She was wanting another person to parent. Then, you know, she ended up having addiction issues. So now it's way more challenging dealing with somebody with addiction issues. Yeah. But now the thing is I have no legal right to my kids. So if I don't have her, I don't have them. Okay, so that was always, because people would say, well, you know, they're not your kids. I'm like, whoa, they are my kids.
Right, absolutely.
They are my kids. So let's stop that. But they're like, you know, so I stayed with her for a lot of years because that was my only way to retain my kids. And so I put up with a lot of crap from her, all these things, but it was, I had made that commitment. So we didn't break up until my oldest son was almost 19 years old. Matter of fact, when we broke up, I was gone for almost a year and she was in her stuff doing everything. And I paid all her bills, all her expenses, everything, and the house, all of that. So my son could graduate from the high school he had went through because they were all raised in the same school. And I didn't want this disruption for him. Yeah. And so, you know, and people would say, well, why do you still, because my son is still there. 100%. And that's like my daughter, my son, you know, they're not like her son with my kid, you know, it wasn't like that. Right. And it was really, I would say, because they were so young, you know, because now we've had to blend our families and they're much older. So it's like, I'll catch myself saying Lori's son, you know, because we kind of raised two separate families and now they're together, but we met so late in life, they're all pretty much adults, except we have one, that the youngest one, but pretty much nobody ever's lived with us as a couple except for him. So, you know, so it took that commitment that these are my kids. And as a result, they're my kids still, you know. I don't know if you saw on social media, but I'm the one who walked my daughter.
Walked her down the aisle, which I thought was beautiful.
It was.
I seen you over there.
Yeah, I was
you trying to keep it together. Yeah.
It was so emotional.
You did. It was beautiful. It was beautiful.
And she started crying in the room where we were getting ready to leave because she started to get nervous. And then I'm like trying to keep it all together, but she's getting nervous to walk down the aisle because she had this big old wedding. Both our kids got married in these giant weddings. And so my kids are Hispanic. So I'm dealing with this whole other side of Hispanic family that is at the wedding that, you know, kind of trifling to a certain extent, but they're still her family. And then I got my family who is completely on board. So they're all there. That's her aunts. Those are her cousins. There's, you know, that's who she's known. So, and then she married a Vietnamese guy. So now we got all these different cultures, but they're all getting along. We're all there. It's nothing but love. So it was beautiful in that way. And so, I mean, we literally have like 4 or 5 different races in our same family. So we have Latin, we have white, we have Black, we have Vietnamese. So we have all these cultures. So beautiful. Yeah, we have everybody in there. So,
we get to you two meeting.
Yeah.
Who wants to tell me how you met? The truth.
Lori tells the story better than me. And every time I start telling the story, she corrects it anyway. So I'll let Lori tell the story.
Well, to sum it up, we met on Match.com.
Okay.
I, as you know, was out in California and I was experimenting. I was on Match for probably 18 months, dating this person and that person, and truthfully getting a little burnt out because I just could not find like my person. And I was almost done with Match. I actually went off for a while and came back on because Match, of course, gives you that deal. Oh, come back for free for a month, right? And so I came back for a month, and my friend, she said, you need to play this little game that I call Drink and Wink. And I said, Drink and Wink, what is that? She said, get yourself a glass of wine, sit down on Match.com and actually start going through people's profiles and just wink at the ones that you like. I said, okay, sounds good. So I come upon her profile and I start reading it, and it's
well, you got to say though, she was burnt out because she was staying in this little area.
Yeah.
She had
That's
this
right.
little area.
I increased my mileage.
Okay, your radius.
My radius to pick up a little bit more. And I ran across her profile and I started reading it. And the first thing that I look at is it says divorced, 3 kids. And I'm like, oh, hell, like I'm divorced with 2 kids. Like that's 5 between us. Like that's a lot of baggage. I don't know about it. I said, she's cute, but I don't know. And I just passed her up and went on, looked at other profiles, winked, came back to hers. And typically what I would do is I would like read something about the profile and try to like be witty, have some type of witty response. And I was reading her profile and it was so like dry and simple. And like, there was nothing for me to go with. So I was like, hell, just wink, right? So I just winked and logged off. And then the next day, you can pick it up from there.
So the next day, so I've barely been on there 2 weeks.
Oh, you knew on there.
Yeah, I'm new on there.
She just came and grabbed you right up off of there. She said, "Nah,
like,
you ain't even gonna get past the free activation period. You gonna be off of here."
They
right
offered
now.
me a deal to be on there for 6 months.
For 6
I
months.
bought the deal. Never even got to use the deal. So
You gotta send her a Cash App request.
You want to go back and use the deal? And I'm like, I'm good. So, I just went on there and I was like, oh, this is, I've never been around social too much, so I'm like, oh, I'm not telling these people all into my business, I'm just like, when I get to talk to you, then I'll do all that, right? So I just put on whatever, and I had been on there. I probably went on one date, just kind of didn't click. Nice person, no shade, just didn't work out. And then I see that this. And so this is the part she always
I have to remind her of this.
I have to remind her of that. So I saw she clicked and I was like, looked at her profile. I was like, oh, this is white girl clicking on me. That's exactly because I'm like, okay, because honestly, where I was raised, mostly all my exes are Hispanic or Latin. So I wasn't around, had never actually dated a white woman. So mostly
yes, you had just one.
Who?
I can't remember her name. Did she have red
actually, she wasn't even hardly a date.
Anyway.
So anyway, but I never had like a long-term relationship, say. So I look on there, I was like, who's this white girl winking at me? So I was like, okay. So then I reached out to her. Right. And then I reached back out because I thought, she's cute. And I look at her pictures and I see her and her son.
My older son.
Her older son at graduation. So, I got to think of something to say. So I said, oh, congratulations on your son's graduation. And then we started clicking. So.
Right. Yeah. And so we just started talking online. And
so where were you, Jill, where were you at this point?
I was in San Jose.
Okay, not that far. Not that far.
Yeah, and I was up in San Bruno, which was closer to San Francisco.
Okay, yeah. So my wife's from Oakland, so I have a little bit of a
okay. So we're
where,
yeah,
look, you had to stretch a little bit.
Exactly, to pick up San Jose.
And me, I'm from California, so that ain't even far.
That ain't nothing. That's like everyday commute.
What's an hour? So I'm not I'm like, what's an hour, right?
Good. I commute an hour to work. So
and when I was growing up, we're partying in San Francisco every weekend.
Yeah.
San Francisco or Oakland, because that's where all the gay clubs were when I was growing up. So that's nothing, So for me,
So anyway, so we had good banter, going back and forth. Just it was witty, it was fun. And Jill had said, none of these girls want to,
everyone wants to chat
online. I'm not really good. I'm better in person.
Yeah. I'm
and I said, I said, I'll meet you. And she's like, oh, okay. Fine. And she happened to be in the area the next day.
Because my niece had just had a baby. She said, would I come up and hang out with her? while her husband was on a business trip. So I was like, oh yeah. So I told her, hey, I'm actually going to be at my niece lived in Foster City up in that area. So I said, I'm going to actually be in town. You want to catch up and have a drink?
Yeah.
And
So we met at this place called B Street and Vine, and I got there before her. And now remember, I was kind of cynical at this point, and I'd been on a lot of dates and was kind of had this attitude of like, oh my God, here we go again. You know, like, what if I don't like her? What if I'm not attracted to her? What if? And I'm trying to like calm my nerves. I'm sitting at the bar and I'm just like, just relax, Lori. Just, you know, it's just one date, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she opens the door and walks in, and I was like, okay, I am definitely attracted. She had on wingtip shoes,
Ooh.
Brooks Brothers sweater, like she looked hot.
Fresh cut.
Yeah, I was
Mm.
hot. I was just like, okay, all right, we're past the attraction part. Now we
Right.
just got to get to see if we connect emotionally, right? And she comes up, and Jill's very affectionate and outgoing. Hugger. She's like, hi, nice to meet you, you know.
You're like, oh, she smells good.
Yeah, smells
We're
good.
good.
Exactly.
Got to have it smell good.
Exactly. She absolutely smelled good.
Had to watch,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
everything, right?
Mhm.
all dialed in.
Yeah, and we
Mhm.
sat down.
So when you call the bartender over, the shirt like just slightly rose. You're like, hey, can I? So then she see like, oh, can I get the?
Yeah.
Check out the,
Right.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
just a little,
exactly.
just peek out a little bit.
Right, yeah.
You know, let's get the whole look going.
Yeah, you know. I
Yeah.
got you.
Definitely had that swag.
Yeah,
You know,
and she
come from us
and
family
Jill has the gift of woo.
Mhm.
And so we sat down to, you know, have a glass of wine and a little food and stuff, and just started chatting, and we like literally closed the place down. Like, I was so like literally like mesmerized by her. It's just like,
she about over it now.
oh my God, like this person is amazing, you know, like it was for me, it was really an immediate attraction, physically, emotionally, mentally, like everything. I really felt strongly about her. And I remember I went into work the next day, and I had
and I had asked her, I said, so when we ended the night, I walked her to her car, you know, and everything.
Mhm.
And she says to me,
I said, man, I said, you're amazing.
and I tell her, I go, you must not get out much.
You had to downplay it a little bit, like,
yeah, right. I know, but
you got it.
So, anyway, I tell her, I said, I'm in town one more day. If you want to go out tomorrow, we'll actually go out and eat, and let me know. And so
yeah, and I was
that.
like, I was kind of like a little gun shy. Like, I was like, I didn't want to rush things. I didn't want to like.
You had to play it cool. She was like, oh,
yeah, I got to kind of play.
She had her like a little
yeah.
to do for,
like, don't go out on a second date right away.
Right. You're like, oh, you know, I'm Lori putting my hair behind my ear, you know.
Exactly.
Well,
exactly. And I said,
I'll see, you know.
That's exactly what I said.
And meanwhile, in her mind, she's like, I'm definitely going out with her tomorrow.
Right.
But, you know, for this moment, I have to see.
Right. Exactly. That's what I said.
She's trying to tell herself, don't jump over, you know.
Yeah.
Gotta, you know.
And that's what I said. Well, I'll let you know.
Yeah, I'll let you know.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, you know, and I went the next day, and I had I worked with a guy who was also gay, and so he was kind of like my compadre. You know, we always talk about stuff, you know. And I said, I met this woman last night. I said, I really liked her. I said, but I don't know, like, if I should go out on a date right away with her, you know. And he's like, man, he said, if it feels good, he said, just go with it till the wheels fall off.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. So I texted her, sure, we can meet tonight.
Yeah, I told her I'm here. Like, catch me, I'm here, you know.
So Jill, what did you think when you walked in and you saw her? What did you think? What's your perspective of going in?
Yeah, exactly. Good question.
So that's a good one,
question,
because when I walked in, I knew she was cute, but she had really a lot of hair. So she was like, to me, her hair was kind of hiding her face. And so I was like, she got a lot of hair. I knew she was pretty. She had a pretty face. She had a good shape. So I'm like, yeah, I could work with this. And she was super nice. Yeah. And she is still to this day an amazing listener. And I'm an amazing talker. So that worked out just
great
awesome.
Combination.
To let me go, and she just listened. She had great questions, and I thought, man, she is really solid. She's a cool person, but you got to remember now, I'm coming from a 20-year relationship of kind of nonsense. So I don't even hardly trust myself. Like, is she good or not? Because I didn't already made some bad mistakes. So I'm like, can I really even pick people, And so one of the first people I talked to was my niece, who was, who I came to visit. She's my oldest niece. So she's like 20 years younger than me, but she's still at a full grown adult, right? So, and then my sister, and I would tell my sister about like stuff, and she's like, oh, that's normal. Cause I had already honestly not known what normal was at this point. What I mean? Like, I have been dealing with a crazy person so long, I kind of forgot what normal looked like, And so but I thought, you know what? I really like her. And then we
went with it.
We ended up saying, let's go out to dinner, close that place down. So we were immediately able to connect, immediately able to talk. It was like almost instant. Yeah.
And how long have you guys been together?
It'll be 9 years.
9
January
years.
29th. It's 9 years.
Yeah. Who proposed to who?
Oh, me. That's all me. So the funny thing is, though, is we were really bad, like how they make the jokes about, the U-Haul and Lesbian.
Yeah.
We lived together after a month.
We met January. We met January 29th and moved in with each other April 1st.
Yeah.
Who moved where? Who moved into where?
Okay, so
I moved down to San Jose.
Her lease was up. I had a house down in San Jose.
Her lease was up.
Yeah,
that's the best.
She had to make the decision. It literally was.
She only had a month to month anyway, but her lease was up.
No, she was at end of a year, and they were raising it. So she was like so open, like, you know what, I'm here in California. I want to explore every area. And I'm like driving up when we first started dating. I'm driving 2 hours to go, an hour and a half each way, And so I'm like, hey, why don't you come try San Jose? So I said,
come down here, please.
Come down here, please. Exactly. And at this point, I'm separated, and my dad has passed. And so I'm staying with my mom. I moved to take care of my mom. So I kind of got that responsibility going on too. I'm self-employed at this point. I'm a general contractor. I got all my contracts down there. And so she was like, yeah, I could ride the train to work. And, and we said, so I said,
love was talking.
Exactly. Yeah. So she was going to come down. And so I said, hey, I'll help you find a place. And this is really in my mind, thinking I was finding her a place.
Finding y'all.
So I was looking for like studios, 1 bedrooms for her, because I'm going to stay with my mom, right? Because I got to look out for mom. So I'm going to just come and visit her all the time. Well, that was never her thought in her mind. But I didn't really realize that. I honestly was going with, let me get her a good place. Next thing I know, she's setting up the house for us.
Jill, I got to say, right now you sounded like a man. the bamboozle was happening and you didn't even see it coming from a mile away.
I'm telling you, I'm not that traditional woke gay person. I'm telling you, I am. That's why I get along. Most of my friends are men, because I'm just as oblivious a lot of times to what's going on. So she's moving down. Next thing I know, we live together. Like, I'm like, tell my mom.
You're like, when did my stuff get here? Do you have a key to my mom's house? Did you bring my stuff here?
And I'm telling you, literally, it was like, we went from, you're going to live here to we going to live here. And then she does a beautiful home. So I'm like, oh, this is really
comfortable.
Good.
Comfortable.
Like, really
comfortable home. This is a woman lives here.
My mom, to her testament, my mom, she has said, she goes, I was kind of hoping you would meet somebody. She did say that to me. She goes, because I could tell you were kind of getting, because we had been, me and my ex were over, and I was just kind of with my mom. She goes, I was starting to think, I hope you meet somebody. Because originally I went on Match to find people to go out to dinner with, hang out, because I was really relationship against it. I had done so much crap. I was cool. I have friends, I got kids, I got family. I'm cool. If I don't meet that right person, I'm cool. So I was literally made a conscious choice to meet somebody completely different than anybody I'd ever dated. And that's Lori. Yeah. Lori's completely different than any woman I've ever been involved with. Cause I'm like, I'm not making good choices. You know what I mean? So I'm like, who's this person? And now who's the opposite of her? And that's Lori.
Yeah.
And this has been 100% my most successful relationship.
That's amazing.
Yeah, we fell in love hard, went hard. We had a very traditional, like people literally that knew me for all the years of what I went through, people that I knew, they were like, oh, we love her. She's so good for you. Like that was going on the whole time. And she's still trying to navigate through her family, but everybody in our lives are like, you could see it. We were so magnetic right away. You could see it. We were in love. And one time we were at a gas station and I was putting gas and she got out of the car. We were just putting gas, talking, and I'm hugging her. And this homeless lady walks by and she's a homeless lady. And she goes, if I knew what love looked like, that's what it would look like.
That's awesome. That's
and
beautiful.
She looked at us and we were like, thank you. And everybody that I knew wanted to meet her right away because they're like, who is she? And so we literally, we were together. We've gone from, we moved here until this worked out. And then we moved, so we got ourselves, we started building our lives together. Yeah. And we knew I wasn't really big on getting married because I thought, I have never been married before because it wasn't even legal.
Right.
So I wasn't even thinking about
15. Yeah.
But I realized after talking for a while, it was important to her. And if it was important to her, it was definitely important to me. So I did the whole, we finally, when we got engaged in 2015, and I hired a photographer because I got this idea from paparazzi photography. And I hired a photographer to hide so I could engage, so I could, propose. And he shot our whole photo shoot.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. So we have a great picture from that, everything. We had a ring made, all of the stuff that we were going to do. And then we knew that we were, we didn't want this big wedding, all this stuff going on. We really didn't, so we had an engagement party the next year. Right? It was a year later. Was it almost a year later? Yeah, it was right.
No, because we got married a year later.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry.
It was like in December or something.
We got engaged in October, and in December we had a big engagement party, brought everybody in. That's what we were going to do, and that was a chance for everybody to celebrate the engagement. We did a photo shoot for that. And then we had a nice party and everybody came to that. And so we kind of had a very traditional, almost like a straight couple, I would say, situation. So we got engaged, had an engagement party. Her oldest son came down. He was at the party and from Chicago. And we kind of just started building our life from there. And then because we knew we wanted to do a destination wedding. And because we were like, we're not going to spend all this money for other people because
we on vacation.
He already had a big wedding. I had already been in relationships. So I was like, I don't need all that. And so, but what we decided to do was she was looking at, Lori's good about all the gay friendly places. Me, I never even paid attention. I didn't know whether they were friendly or not. I've always kind of been like that. I'm good, And so she brought more awareness to, because honestly, and you see how I look, how you look, people think I'm a guy half the time.
Yeah, half the time anyway. They're like, oh, how you doing, sir?
Exactly. I get called sir.
I don't even correct them.
I even try to correct them. So I'm never worried. I'm holding her hand. I mean, people don't walk up to me like, are you gay? Most of the time,
they just know.
We don't know whether they're looking at us because we're interracial or we're gay. You don't even know half time. Don't care either.
Yeah.
So, anyway, so we decided on Bora Bora. So we got married in Bora Bora. And I thought we were just going to go out there, have a little, Lori went full blown Bora Bora.
Got to have that full blown Polynesian wedding.
Yes,
Amazing.
It was.
It was amazing.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
And we end up being on, have you ever heard of a site called, what's it called, babe?
I don't know, some
it's
French
a-
place.
No, the wedding site, Equally Wed.
Oh, yeah.
So there's
Equally
an
Wed.
article, there's a feature on us on Equally Wed, because
Nice.
we did and we were part of a documentary. So they had drones and, and all this stuff. And honestly,
Nice.
the entire resort was out there. So it was like we had a wedding with 400 people, because everybody was all out on the overwater bungalows. We had dancers, we had a band. So it was loud, and you're on a resort. And so
The whole resort is like, well, what's going on over there?
Exactly.
And then all week that we were on vacation, we were like, oh, you guys are the ones who got married. Congratulations. And, it was just really cool. It was just really cool.
Nice, nice. So what advice do you have for people who are navigating that, finding love later in life or after having been in different relationships? What advice do you have for them?
I'm gonna let you go.
I would say be true to yourself. Be honest about who you are, what you're looking for, do a little bit of soul searching about what's important to you. And don't be afraid, don't be afraid to get out there, and don't jump into things right away. I dated a lot of different women before I met Jill. And I think it's important to date different people, see what's out there, see how you feel with different people. But I think overall it's just to be true to yourself and learn from I think personally, as long as you're compatible with the person, it doesn't matter what relationship you're in, eventually you're going to have challenges in your relationship. And you want to be with someone that you can work through things with, right? You want to be with someone that is willing to go the distance with you, the same type of values system that you have, the same type of commitment level. I mean, for us, we both really value family. We both value travel. There's a lot of different things that we value that's the same. And I think that that's important, because you got to be able to last the distance.
Yeah.
And for me,
what up? It's your host, Ashley, and I'm interrupting this podcast to ask, are you following us? Have you downloaded the podcast? Are you subscribed to us on YouTube? If you're not already, go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow us on all platforms, Queerly Black. I'm going to let y'all get back to the show. Peace.
Part of our hesitation, I would say, is exactly what she's saying, know what you want. And for me, my kids were grown, and she had a young son. Mm-hmm. And so that was almost no, not trying to raise nobody else. So it almost was a stop for us. But her husband had her son. He wasn't interested in coming out here. She saw him on summer. So I'm like, okay, because it wasn't like he didn't have a real dad, and that was a good dad. So he, it wasn't like she left him with some stranger and eventually he's going to show up. So he liked being in Chicago. He knew Chicago. So I never thought we were really I thought it'll be a summer thing, break. And I knew she wanted him, and but part of us getting stronger together. So honestly, a month after we got married, he said, I want to come live with you guys. We weren't even back from our honeymoon, hardly. And here he comes. I'm like,
oh, y'all doing it up over there. I want to go with you. What y'all got going on?
Yeah. Over there. He's a freshman in high school too.
Oh, yeah. So y'all was real cool. He was, I'm going out. I'm going to move out to, San Francisco.
I'm
like,
I'm done with living with my dad.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sick of my dad.
I'm take my dad.
Yep.
I'm like, oh my God, here we go, so.
Yeah. Gone are the days of walking around half naked. They hadn't even got here yet. I can't even.
We could go somewhere like this in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
So that was like, oh, okay, here we go again. And I had so much drama with my ex and raising those kids. I didn't want any part of it anymore. Mm-hmm. My kids were grown. I'm through. It's me now. I'm doing me time. you know, and I don't want all that, but I knew how big of a hole it was for her not to have her son.
Yeah.
So it became a non-issue. He wants to come, he's coming.
Yeah.
But, you know, now we're inheriting a teenager. And so that was really us raising Ian, that's his name, is our youngest son, was really a lot because we have to navigate now. I got my own way I parented. She definitely had her own way of parenting. I'll be honest, like old Black people parent, you know? And so now I'm like meeting new age white parenting is kind of, you know, so I'm like, oh, okay. You know, he's asking questions at mine. So, cause I said so.
Because I said so. Do as I
You
say,
know?
not as I do.
All of that. And so that's how my kids were raised. And then my kids are even like, why did he say that? You know, like my kids even think, what's going on over here? But it's just different.
Different,
you know, I had to realize. But, you know, and I thought, okay, this is going to be tough. This is going to be, and it was, because I'm like, I'm not used to like, don't talk back to me. Don't get, you know, this, you know, and he's used to asking questions and wanting to know why and all this stuff. And, you know, he's really been raised, his dad's white, Lori's white. He's been raised pretty white.
Yeah.
So, you know, he's meeting me now.
Little culture shock.
Black person from the South, raised from parents during the Depression, you know, kids to be seen, not heard, all of that, which I can't say, I would say it's not the best way to raise your kid, but it's what I know.
It's what you know, yeah.
What I know. And to this day, I'm glad the way my parents raised me. I feel like the majority, all of my success, I owe to them. So, you know, I didn't have like, I think this was bad. I had my parts I would do, wouldn't do, but majority of I thought they were right. So when we had to start trying to figure out, now we're a different couple. We're trying to be parents together. And so
the whole new
yeah,
that
little honeymoon was over.
Even me and my wife
was over.
Yeah, we haven't even, I mean, this is our kid together, and like from the first day, and it's a new dynamic, you know, because even the way we were raised is different. And so we've had tons of conversations, of course, before, you know, having the child, and then we have the child, and it's like, there's a ways that you do things, there's ways I do things, but you know, I think going back to what makes you a good couple is like, we talk about everything, you know, every little small thing, down to how fast we give him a bottle, right? Because breastfeed, so we got to make sure that he's not like having issues over there, or what time, you know, how long he stays awake, you know, every little thing, you know, comes back to communication and just having dialogue about like, all right, debrief the day, like, because you know, when they're that small, they're changing every day, so it's like, well, what's going on? And I imagine for you guys with a teenager, it's like, well, are we doing
a certain way?
Yeah, are we doing girlfriends and boyfriends? Are we like are we allowing sleepovers? Like, are we like every single thing?
All of that, like, what do you believe? And you know, so conversations we really didn't need to have, now we have to have these.
The good thing was is we both wanted the same outcome. It's just that how we got to
there
that
was
outcome
different. Yep, 100%.
Was different. And so, you know, what I believed and what she believed created that outcome that we were looking for were two different things. And it was hard.
Yeah, because I didn't have to. My ex kind of parented the way I said, let's parent. And then she had her own way. And not to say good or bad, it's just different.
It's just different. Really 100%.
And we have to work through it, you know. And, you know, I would say, you know, Black people don't do this, you know, or, you know, this is not how we are, and, you know, and all the other things. And she's opened my eyes to a lot of stuff, you know, like therapy. We don't go to therapy, you know. I mean, like all these things
need to
be doing, all of us need it. It ain't like
I love therapy. I'm a proponent of therapy. I think therapy is one of the greatest things I've ever found in my life.
Exactly. So it's not like, but we didn't parent. That's part of being older, you know. We don't parent, right? So, you know, I'm 61 years old. So I think that's different. You know,
I think too, going back to your question about like, you know, what advice do you give to someone that is older, that's looking for, looking for love? I think it's also about not being set in your ways. Like as we get older, like we have our certain belief systems that we are that are ingrained in us. And I think you cannot stop growing. Even as if you're 40, 50, 60, 70, you cannot stop growing. You have to keep learning and growing and being open to another person's perspective and another person's belief system, and always challenging yourself. Like you can't just, I mean, I think if you stay in this, like, well, this is who I am and this is the way I do things, and too bad, you don't like me, too bad. Yeah, you're probably not going to find love.
Yeah, 100%. That's for young people too. That's for young people too. That y'all need to listen to that.
Yeah, and I had to, you know, I got to tell you, I do a lot of things differently than I did before I met Lori. 100%. And I could tell you, any growth I've had has been, a lot of it's been contributed to her, because of how she looked at things and how she believes in some of the things I never really knew about, you know. And so it's helped, like I said, it was rough. I'm not going to say it wasn't when our son came, because it was a completely different dynamic. But we had to say is, we're making it. There's no blowing out. There's no
giving up. There's no
we wanted this. We're in love. Yeah. We wanted this. We just got to work through this part. We got 4 years. He's on to college. We got to just hold steadfast. And we did. You know, we made it. It was hard. I'm not going to say it wasn't hard, but as a result, we found out a lot about each other. He's in college, you know, and he also, what I could say is, he learned about me. I learned about him. Mm-hmm. And then I learned, you know, and now as a result, I don't think he was going to be as multicultural as he is now. And he very much is. He got a chance to meet other races, other people's different backgrounds. And he's very open about it, because he had that exposure now. And like, you know, a lot of our dynamics changes when he got to college. He took a class in African-American studies. Mm-hmm. And I was like, why would he sign? But then he would.
Why not just talk to me?
Yeah, exactly. I could tell you everything.
I could say everything you need to know.
Yeah, what you stay in class for? Just call me up. But he call me and ask me really good questions about this period of time. What did I? And I was like, wow, I was impressed. This kid literally wants to know about another culture. But one thing we didn't mention is Lori used to be married to a Black man. So that's what my first thing was. I didn't know her son was.
Lori been spicy, huh?
So I didn't know, because.
All right, Lori.
Okay. Yeah, her son looks like he could be like Persian, or, you know, he didn't look Black. Plus his hair is cut really, it's bald. He's bald now, yeah. So I'm thinking, this is what white girl know about Black people. And then I'm like, oh,
more than you know, more than you think.
Had that jungle fever, and here she is now. Like, so that was my also thing, is like, okay, even though she still stayed very white to me, but she is awoke, but she's very herself. She didn't like, you know, she doesn't try to, what do they call that term when people are trying to be Black? None of that is her. She's who she is. You know, she just happened to be married to a Black guy she fell in love with, but she's still very much Lori, raised in Missouri. You know, she's still very much that person. So, you know, sometimes I tell her, you're one of the whitest people I know, you know, because I did not grow up around a lot of people. Mostly it was Latins, Blacks, you know, so but she's very much herself, and I love that about her. Honestly, I think it's a very big trait to not try to be somebody else.
That's for sure.
Exactly. I think absolutely. That's huge. And I think for you guys as a couple, this is going to be a period of a lot of changes, a lot of growth, a lot of, you know, I mean, there's a lot. This is a lot. I could tell you right now, and we even have very different ideas. It's like, it's a selfless job. It is. Job. These people are selfish as hell. They want, you know, and it doesn't really change.
No.
You know, this is who they are, and you got to be up for that. So you got to really be wanting this dynamic in your life, because now that's your whole responsibility. Yes. You know, every decision you're making involves that person. And like you said, you and your wife go a certain way, that's still your baby. You know, you don't get to go, okay, well, we'll see you later. And no, it doesn't work like that. Not if you're decent, it doesn't.
Yeah, if you're decent.
If you're trifling like a lot of people, that's a whole other story. But if you're decent, this is your commitment forever. So
100%.
and you guys are not gonna, I tell you 100%, you're not who you're gonna be when you're our ages.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of years that are going to come in between, and you're going to become different people and change. And, you know, all this is going to happen. And the whole thing is you got to hold on to is what is our core. And that's what's going to get us through.
Yeah.
You know, and I think you have to have a lot of things that are like, and I tell people that are a parent, you got to have a lot of goals and have them figured out, because people didn't always raise their families like that. Like in my family, it was like, be a good person, get yourself a good job, you know, be decent. And it wasn't like a whole thing, but there wasn't like a guidebook or a core. We didn't have these family goals. Lori does like vision boards and all this. You know, I'm like, I'm just trying to pay rent next month, you know, that kind of thing, you know, like I ain't trying to have a vision board, you know, I'm trying to get me a job, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So, but you want to have those things.
Yeah.
Because I actually have them all, but I just got here, but I don't know, you know, it wasn't like there was this path. But I think if I had to do it all over again, and I did it with her as young children, I would love to have seen how it would have been when we went from a newborn to an adult, and how that would have been.
Yeah.
You know, because I think it's really important to have some guidelines.
Yeah.
What you guys are gonna, what do they call that? The non-negotiables.
No, yeah.
Make sure you got those. You know, we're not going to sit here and fight in front of this kid. You know, we're going to be as selfless as possible, because co-parenting, whether you're together or not, is possible. Most people just too immature and ignorant to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to realize that will always be her child. It will always be your child. So you can't make that child try to pick somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not even fair to them. So there's just a lot of things that you got to know. And my dad used to say, I'm not brilliant, I'm just old.
Yeah, wise.
You know? I mean, it's just wise. It's just years. And so, you know, every time I talk to somebody who has a new child, that's awesome. It's amazing, but it's overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot. You're going to be exhausted, but you know, the rewards don't always come. You know, so
come
not
in spurts.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's not like
a reward is a good night of sleep.
Yeah, exactly. It's definitely not one long love fest.
They're taking their step, you know,
right.
or
walking your daughter down the aisle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our first dance, we did our first dance. I bawled throughout the whole first dance. You know, I mean, and people ask me, it's like, you know, that was another thing, is my kids were so used to me being gay, that wasn't even out of pocket for her.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for me to walk her down the aisle. Now, on her other side of the family, they had questions, because they thought the father, who has never been there, should be walking her down the aisle. Like, he never been there, he ain't here now.
Yeah.
So, you know, so this is another thing. So, you know, it goes from there. It's just a lot to, you know, parenting is a lot of work, and remember, the most important two people in this whole thing is you and your wife.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the last thing I would probably say.
Yeah. He's beautiful. He's definitely a joy, and, you know, it's definitely a journey. I think we were very intentional about when we chose to have a child. We'd done everything. We traveled. We felt like we fulfilled what was our checklist in terms of what we wanted to do.
That's good. Yeah, well, you did 10 years
as a couple.
You guys been together how long?
We were together 14 years before we had him.
Okay, well, there you go.
Yeah, so we'd felt like we did everything. We finally went to Europe. We bought a house. We career-wise, you know, the whole nine. And so then it was like, all right, well, what else is there? You know, the last thing that we can even think about is like, oh, go to Thailand. But this is in the middle of COVID. So we're like, yeah, we're not going to do that. And then we'll just wait till he's a little older and bring him with us. You know, it was kind of like one of those things. And we're like, yeah, okay, let's go ahead.
Now, did you guys always know you wanted to eventually have a child?
Yeah, well, I think in the beginning, or I'll say before her and I were like more serious, for her, I don't even think relationships were like a serious, like she wasn't really like even, I don't even know who I'm gonna be with, because I'm just myself. And I'd always wanted kids. I never wanted to have them, but I always knew I wanted them. And I, you know, whether it was adoption or if I was with somebody that had kids or whatever. And then as her and I got really serious, the idea of kids was like, yeah, I would love to have a kid with you. Like with you, I want to have a family. And so then it was the conversation of, okay, so who's gonna have the kid?
Right.
And so, because I was like, well,
me.
I don't mind adopting kids. I don't have an issue with that. But she was like, we need to control at least half the genetics. We need to know what half this kid is that's coming up in here.
Right.
And so then, she decided ultimately to carry. I said, well, if you want if the genetics married to you, then I feel like the genetics should be yours.
Right.
Right.
So then, we went through the journey of having him, and now we have him. We'll probably have one more eventually.
Okay, I was going to ask you that if you're going to have
Yeah,
another.
we think we want him definitely to have a sibling, somebody to be raised with. We both come from big families and had. She was raised an only child. She has other siblings, but there's an age gap between them. So she was raised as an only child, but with a ton of cousins, and me the same. I had siblings and a ton of cousins. So that family part, we definitely value. So we definitely want them to be raised with someone. But at 10 weeks, I'm like, yeah, we can wait. Just a little bit. He's 10 weeks. He's 10 weeks. Yeah. So he's
I saw
fresh.
that picture with you. That's a beautiful
I have to
picture.
follow you on Instagram so I get some of your pictures.
Yeah, we don't post his face. My wife is an attorney, so that with the whole social media thing, to you guys' point earlier, I feel like you share everything. I'm very communicative. I talk on the podcast. I share a lot about myself, and for us, even this platform is different because we're both in I'm in finance, which is a pretty conservative. She's an attorney, very conservative. And for us being on a public platform and sharing our child is just not really something that we want to do. People do it and it's great. I think it's beautiful. But for us, we've just made that decision that, and the additional part of that is there's family members who we've struck boundaries with that we just feel like we don't even want you to be able to find, that part of our lives. So it's just, it's just a mutual decision to just be like, no, we'll just keep him off the internet.
What's your son's name?
Aiden.
Oh, okay, that's cute.
Yeah. So he's a joy. He's sweet. He's beautiful. Like smiles. Like it's a beautiful thing. But it's the ton of work. And I remember before we had him, I had the thought of like, people are together and they're married and they're like doing their thing. Like, just go ahead and have a kid, right? I used to think that, and I used to hear people say they didn't want children, and I didn't know what that meant. Like when somebody said, like, I'm like, wow, why wouldn't you want to have a child, right? Then having a child and really understanding the gravity of what that looks like, I have flipped my script so quickly with people. I'm like, listen, if you don't want to have a child, get out of that relationship, leave them alone, move on. Like, I'm like, what? Because you don't want to sign up for that.
No, because it's
or to stay with somebody that you do, then that's not what you want. Because you had, to your point, it is the most selfless thing that you will ever do in your life if you're going to be good at it. If you're going to be a crappy parent and just be dumping your kid off wherever, then fine, go live your life. But if you're going to really be good at it,
you're all in.
You're done. Like what you're done. So your life is your life as you know it is never going to be the same. Even your heart posture, your thoughts, what you think, where you're like, it's a completely different journey, but it's beautiful. And I'm glad that I'm doing it with her, of course.
Because if you want to do it, it is a beautiful thing.
It is a beautiful
like
thing.
You said, if you're not, that's not what you want.
Get out of there.
Because it is not going to be over next year when you got, not if you're decent. It's going to be your
it's lifelong. I can tell you as a mom of someone who is 21 and 31, it never stops.
No.
Just because they are grown and out of the house, I still worry constantly. I still need to be connected to them and need to know what's going on in their life. I still celebrate with them. They still mean the world to me. It doesn't end.
So we have a different perspective too on that, because I'm always kind of been more like a dad. So I'm more hands off on my kids. When they got to a certain age, I'm kind of like, I'll see y'all. you know, but her, it's like more like, oh my God. And
like,
then
come home. Everybody's home for every holiday.
Like,
Come back.
really?
When are
We
you
need
getting
everybody
here?
to come by? Really? Do we need them? You know, like how long?
Yes,
You know,
we do.
like,
right.
You know, so it's very different. But my daughter not having really good mom, she'll say like she's always I always kind of been like her dad. So she'll be asking Lori to try to get through to me to tell me that story, you know. So she'll like, oh well, you know, I'm like, when that happened, you know, so it's
yeah, she knows how to work us to like she knows like who she can complain to and who she can't complain to.
She know I'm not trying to hear that, or she, you know, but Lori gonna hear the whole story,
the
right?
whole story, yeah.
And then, you know, and also to the fact that Lori's never had a daughter.
Yeah.
So she's kind of getting to have a daughter, and I've had both. I had boys and girls. So for her, it was like, okay, I kind of get a daughter too.
Yeah. So now I have a girl and two boys.
Awesome.
Yeah. So, you know, we work it.
It's different too. Oh my God. Is it different to have a girl versus boys? Oh
yeah. And I want another, I want another son. I'm like praying for, I'm like, when we have another, I just want two boys. Cause I was raised with two sisters. It's three of us, three girls. And I don't want nothing to do with a daughter. I'm like, I
have one.
Woo, I'm good.
Death. I love her to death, but she is all like, I know more about her than I would ever want to know about any woman, any person in general. Oh, and she's a princess too.
Yeah.
So she's got 4 brothers now. She had 2 brothers. She's like a princess. So she's all girls. So you're going to know all about her. That wedding was princess for a day, you know, so since prom, there was winter ball, like that stuff goes on forever. There's not just a haircut and a rental. You got nails, you got makeup, you got hair, you got dress. I mean, it's a lot. Girls are a lot.
Yeah.
But you love them.
But you know what?
Yes,
girls
you do.
But I got to tell you, she gonna get me if I need anything.
Yeah, she gonna take care of you. They'll take care of you.
Well, my sons, they may send me a package to the rest home.
Yeah, you know? That's what my wife said. She's like, we need a daughter so somebody can take care of us when we're old, because no son is gonna like, you know. And I even watched my uncles like take care of my grandmother when she was as she was kind of dying. And my uncle would come by and he'd be like, "Did you eat today? Come here, eat a couple bites of this food." My mom comes, she's brushing her teeth, she's like picking her stuff out, she's getting the nurse, changing the sheets, making sure, you know, she got a nice blanket, making sure her hair is not like standing up on top of her head. I'm like, wow, daughters are definitely different.
Yeah,
so there's they pay dividends.
Everybody, they're gonna be a lot, but you better get you one, because when you get old, that's who's gonna be there helping you bring in the little extra food you need, everything. She checks on us. My son, he's calling, like, he might not know I died for 2-3 weeks, if you know. So you know what I mean? Like, it's just, and I don't think he doesn't love me. That's who he is. And her, she's kind of getting, now that they're getting, you know, how boys are at one point they're attached to you, then they go off a little bit. Then now her oldest son has got married. And so, you know, it just changes. The dynamic changes. And I tell her, you know, I know, poor baby, poor honey, I know. He'll call. So I'm over there texting him, Kai, check in on your mom. You know what I mean?
Off to the side, like, hey, man.
Off to the side, you know, because they are not like that. Not that they don't love their mom.
They're different. They're
extremely close to their mom. If some break out, that's who they're calling, is their mom.
Yeah, 100%. Always.
Yeah, it's still their mom, but you know, they're just different.
Yeah,
they're just different.
Definitely. I love it. Well, this was a great conversation. I definitely last thing I want to do, just play a quick game of this or that. So I'm gonna just shoot some stuff and you guys tell me which one.
Okay.
All right. So, sports car or a big truck?
Sports car.
Big truck.
Well, you kind of answered this, but a big wedding or a small ceremony?
Small ceremony.
Small ceremony.
Yeah.
Stay up late or sleep in?
Sleep in.
Okay.
No, I do not want to stay up late.
No, I'm actually like, I'm not tired. I'm not going to sleep. I'll turn that light off.
I don't like to stay up late either. My wife stays up late and I'm like, no, we can't start no shows after like 9 o'clock. I'm like,
yes.
Don't turn on nothing new after 9 o'clock.
She's like this. I'm like, it's 9 o'clock. Okay, well, if you want to stay, and then she like, I'm like, let me just go on to bed.
Don't turn on nothing new after 9. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I'll be up at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning.
No, not me. I can't last that long. Sports bra or underwire bra?
Sports bra.
Sports bra.
Sports bra.
Yeah, she's actually a sports bra. She got some Victoria's Secret, but
they're kind of sporty.
Yeah.
I hate underwire bras.
Yeah.
Cannot stand them.
Yeah.
Hate them.
Iron it or re-dry it?
Re-dry.
Re-dry it.
So I'm ironing her clothes all the time.
I'm the ironer. Yeah, I'll iron her stuff. Yeah, I'll be like, she's like, take that shirt off, please.
Iron this for me. So
I'll iron it if the re-dry doesn't get the wrinkles out, but I'm going to try the re-dry first.
Very much
laundry or cooking?
Laundry.
Cooking.
Day at the spa or watching sports all day?
Day at the spa.
I probably actually will go for watching sports all day, but I love a good massage. But I'm not going to be at a spa all day. But
short hair or long hair?
Short hair.
Long hair.
Yeah.
Lipstick or lip gloss?
Lip gloss.
Vaseline.
Vaseline.
Tinted lip gloss.
Tinted lip gloss. Low color.
Vaseline, dry lips. That's it.
Vaseline.
Yeah.
Pay or have her pay?
I pay. Yeah. I pay. It's both our money, but I'm usually the one grabbing.
Well, yeah.
She can pay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's my money, her money, and then it's my money is all of our money. So yeah, we're very good about that. We're just
nice.
Yeah, that's not a conversation. We're good.
And the last question gets a little spicy.
Okay.
Pillow princess or I'm on top?
I'm the on topper.
I'm on the bottomer.
Pillow princess.
I'm on the bottomer. I'm running things in there. When we're not asleep.
Love it. Love it. Love it, man. Well, thank y'all so much for coming on the show and sharing your story, having a little bit of fun. Tell the people where they can find you.
I'm at JCYoung31
on Instagram. I'm I have two because I run my own business, so I'm at Amazing OBM if anyone's looking for a digital marketer. Otherwise, I'm at Young Lori Lee. LEA, LORILEA.
And I want to tell you, she wanted to be a young because she goes, I want to be young because I've always been a young. So she became a young because she wanted to be Young Lori Lee. Yeah. Always. So she's trying to move the last name to the first name.
Yeah.
And together, so it's kind of crazy. So we're known as Jillori because Jill is and my last, L is her first. So it's JILLORI. So that we tell people that's
interesting.
So people call us Jillori.
You guys gotta get a couples page.
We don't have a joint Instagram account.
Yeah, I was gonna say you gotta
thought about like doing a joint Instagram account, but just haven't done it.
Yeah, but so we're Jillori. Everybody calls us Jillori.
Because I'm sure people start following you guys. Like I think I don't remember how I found.
I'm boring, so
your page.
I probably found you because I'm
a lot
maybe
I'm a lot spicier on social media than her. She's very boring on social. So you got to follow.
I'm gonna follow you. I follow Jill. I'm gonna follow you too.
Yeah, you gotta follow her. You'll find out way more what's going on.
Yeah, in our lives. Yeah, Young Lori. I think it's Young Lori Lee. Yeah, I'm pretty.
I'll put it in the bio so people can follow you guys.
Yeah. Do you know the Stokes Kennedys?
Mm-hmm.
So Mylene, I've known since she was a little girl. She's one of my niece's best friends.
Nice. Yeah. I follow them too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Have you interviewed them?
I have not interviewed them yet. No.
They're a great couple to interview.
Yeah. I've known her. So I've known Mylene since she was a little girl. When she was 4, when she was straight, had the baby, like everything. So I've watched her, like her whole progression, but she actually calls me auntie. So I've known her since she was a little kid, Mylene. So
yeah, and
that's nice.
They got 3 now.
Three?
Yeah.
2 little ones and then 1 older one.
Yeah.
That's
They've had
awesome.
the 2 little ones together, but Mylene already had their older son.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's awesome. Well, thank you guys for coming. I really appreciate you coming and sharing. This is fun. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Thanks for letting us share.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. Thank y'all for coming.
Okay.
Hey, man.
Care.
Y'all know what it is. I'm your host, Ashley. This is another episode of the Queerly Blax Show. I'll catch y'all on the next one. Peace.